we need to speak about Wayne Rooney. I enjoyed teaching you guys about players from the 1950s, but it seems a new generation of football fans have forgotten how good this guy was. Make no mistake, Rooney is England's best player ever. This is the guy who had us wearing total 90 trainers with boot-cut jeans to the school disco. A guy who was so good he had his own TV show called Wayne Rooney's Street Striker back in the day. I don't want to hear about Gaza pouring the water in his head. I don't care about Kane scoring 200 goals in squad battles or 54 penalties against Faroe Island. Rooney was the guy. He wasn't even a pure 9, yet he had so many iconic moments. And he had an insane ability to adapt himself throughout his career. People try to discredit him for falling off in his 30s, but they won't talk about the fact that he was the greatest teenager to ever play in the Premier League. The only two players that can chat to him in that regard are Fabregas and his United teammate Cristiano Ronaldo, who were outrageous talents in their teenage years. But perhaps some of you were not old enough to remember that Vodafone version of Rooney, so that's where we're gonna start. Grab your pen and paper. Rooney's first ever football team was actually Liverpool schoolboys, but he made no secret of the fact that he was an Everton fan. It's fair to say that breaking the goal scoring record of 72 goals in one season, and then another 99 goals in the Kirkdale Junior League, had Everton scouts scrambling for his contact details, and he got his dream move to their academy by the age of 9. Even as a kid, he didn't have the sort of frame that you'd usually attribute to a professional footballer, but he had this brute force that allowed him to just smash records upon records, with 3-4 goals every game, playing in age groups beyond his years. It was clear that he was going to force himself into the first team by hook or by crook, especially after his incredible goal scoring run on the road to the 2002 FA Youth Cup final, where he'd score in a defeat to Aston Villa and raise his shirt saying once a blue, always a blue. They simply could not hold this monster back anymore, and in his first game he grabbed an assist in a draw against a Spurs team whose fans were booing him the whole game. Shortly after, he became Everton's youngest ever goal scorer with a brace against Wrexham in the cup, and he was about to make his real announcement to the entire country. Arsenal were unbeaten for 30 games in 2002 until a 16-year-old Wayne Rooney crashed their finesse into the top corner in the final minute of the game to become the youngest scorer in Premiership history. And after banging in goals upon goals for Everton, he then got called up for England's Euro 2004 squad and broke the record for youngest scorer in that competition too. Unfortunately, he got injured in the quarters, but 4 goals in 4 games was enough to attract the teams fighting at the very top of the Barclays. Sir Alex Ferguson was able to persuade him against joining Chelsea and Newcastle, despite how much Everton preferred these options financially. At roughly £27 million, United's new number 8 had the pressure of being the most expensive under-20 player the Prem has ever seen. Did he feel it? Well, his very first United game was against Galatasaray, where he'd bag a Champions League hat-trick to announce himself to the Old Trafford faithful. Again, the youngest player to do so in the competition's history. From any angle, he seemed capable of firing it into the bottom corner with pinpoint accuracy. Or other times, he'd absolutely leather it like that iconic Newcastle goal where he told the ref to move out the way so he could volley at 100 miles per hour. He didn't actually bag a trophy in his first season despite all these goals, and he was developing a bit of a reputation for being a hothead, picking up various red cards and bans over the next couple seasons, before that famous CR7 wink incident that got Rooney sent off as England crashed out the tournament. Back at United, it was clear that his sheer passion for the game would get him through any dry spell, so much so that in the face of boos from his own boyhood club, he would drag United back into the game and kiss the United badge in front of the fans who once loved it. He wasn't interested in sentimental vibes, he wanted to just bag goals and win titles. Now the numbers were beginning to flow, and his 14 goals led them to his first Premiership trophy. Him and Ronaldo had now squashed whatever beef they had to form an extremely deadly duo that would go on rampages with devastating counterattacks in the league and in Europe. With the arrival of Carlos Tevez, that deadly duo became a titanic trio, with the three of them interchanging with crazy fluidity. He suffered a lot of injuries though in this period, and so his numbers were hampered as a consequence. He happily accepted that in order for Manchester United to win, he needed to do the constant running and dog work to allow Cristiano the freedom to shine up front. And he was comfy doing so, because his ruthless mentality allowed him to look beyond personal accolades and strictly focus on team success. As many of you know, United went on to win the 2008 final against Chelsea, so the sacrifices were absolutely worth it. After their third league title in a row, Ronaldo got his dream move to Madrid, and Rooney suddenly had to become the main man again. We've seen Rooney be a bully in and around the box, we've seen him have elite link-up play, we know how fast he was in his younger years, but if there was to be one weakness in his game, it would probably be his heading. Well, that seemingly changed overnight, as Rooney decided he was suddenly a monster in the air. Seeing this evolution with my own two eyes as I was growing up, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. How can someone just download new attributes overnight to become an even greater weapon than before? The closest way I can describe it to newer football fans is how Bellingham arrived in Madrid and suddenly started scoring every single week without fail. Despite a few little injuries plaguing him over the next couple seasons, his impact was enough to pick up the 2010 PFA Player of the Year. But as I said to you guys before, Rooney didn't give a damn about these individual awards if they weren't accompanied by the biggest trophies. It doesn't matter that they just won 3 straight league titles. Watching on as Chelsea dominated the league that season had him burning, so much so that he decided United could not meet his ambitions and he decided to leave. Naturally, when a player of this quality puts himself publicly on the market, everyone's gonna come banging on the door like armed robbers. City were in the early stages of their unlimited money glitch spree, but in the end, he did a shocking U-turn and signed a 5-year deal with United. If you understand anything about this guy from what I've told you so far, you'd know that he'd quickly get all the fans back on side with his unwavering commitment whenever he put on the shirt. All the talk of him being a snake was squashed when he scored the winner in a Manchester derby with that famous overhead kick. Between me and you, he absolutely shinned it and got lucky it went in. But for the sake of the occasion, I get why he's gassed up. Still though, his goals would propel him to another league title before City finally broke their drought the following year. With Sir Alex Ferguson's pending retirement, he took it upon himself to drop deeper again to allow new signing Van Persie to fire them to United's 20th league title. Once Ferguson retired, Rooney was once again ready to leave. But Moyes and United rejected countless bids from Chelsea, Real Madrid and even Arsenal back then. He continued packing in goals left, right and centre with all the speculation surrounding him. But the Moyes project wasn't working and he was quickly replaced by Van Gaal, who made him captain after the departure of Nemanja Vidic. His goals would see him climbing higher and higher up the all-time Premier League rankings, surpassing the Prem's greatest player Henry in 2014. Even with England, his numbers were booming. But unfortunately, unlike nowadays where all the younger players are buddy-buddy on Instagram and supporting each other's team, the golden generation used to hate each other and wouldn't even speak to guys from rival clubs during socializing hours. That's why they failed to qualify for Euro 2008, and their highlight of the 2010 World Cup was Rooney on TV thanking the fans for booing them. In fact, in 2012, Fabio Capello accused Rooney of only playing well for United, a damning indictment of his professionalism. And unfortunately, it didn't get much better for them as they were booted out the 2014 World Cup group stages too. He continued to drop deeper and became a centre mid for England during Euro 2016, and he was now a midfielder at club level too. But that didn't stop him picking up the accolade of United's all-time leading goal scorer with 253 goals. Up to now, he had 5 Premier League titles, a Champions League, an FA Cup, among other smaller trophies. A very impressive haul. But with his body starting to fail him, this was to be his last season and it was time to depart. In 2017, he returned home to Everton, where he'd obviously score on his second debut with the club, and even scored a hat-trick against West Ham, including yet another screamer from his own half. After a nice 10 league goals, he left England for an MLS adventure, where he started cooking as a 9. Although, perhaps the moment that summed him up the most was a goal where he ran back into his own half, put in a crunching tackle to win the ball back, pinged the diagonal 50 yards for a game-winning assist in the dying minutes to secure a playoff spot. That was just all his qualities combined into one. That first hat-trick for his new club arrived in 2019, and yet another goal from his own half for another team shortly followed. After hitting the 300 career goals mark, he decided to have a stint in the Championship with Derby County, obviously scoring on his debut yet again. Naturally though, the goals would dry up a little bit, and with the team struggling, he had his first coaching experience as they gave him the role of player manager. And in January 2021, he officially retired as he became the permanent manager of Derby. So with the curtains now closed on his elite playing career, I need you guys to make sure you don't allow this guy to get slandered by the new age fans who sit on their phones checking SofaScore stats for 90 minutes. Wayne Rooney is a football icon who had the work rate and commitment to accompany his incredible technical prowess. Everyone already knows who Rooney is, but hopefully seeing everything with your eyes today allows you to see how special this player is. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on the video, comment where you think prime Rooney would rank if he was playing today, and subscribe for new lessons every single Monday. Class dismissed. Bosh.